In the prime of her career, Mary Tyler Moore radiated an engaging presence that left an indelible mark on both large and small screens. She was a hugely successful actress who revolutionized the portrayal of women in television. However, as she became more successful, she started neglecting the most important things in her life. By the time she realized this, she had already lost her only son, her family, and her health, becoming a shadow of herself until her dying days. But the question is, what are the hidden stories enveloping the mysteries that surrounded her? Follow us along as we unveil some of her untold stories while showing you some of her rare photos. Born on December 29, 1936, in the Brooklyn Heights neighborhood of New York City, Mary Tyler Moore was the firstborn of Marjorie Hackett and George Tyler Moore. With her father working as a clerk, the Irish Catholic family established their home in Brooklyn's Flatbush neighborhood. The family also spent time in Flushing, Queens. Since she was raised in the Catholic faith, attending St. Rose of Lima Parochial School in Brooklyn, Mary Tyler Moore epitomized a sense of innocence and curiosity. Her upbringing instilled in her a strong moral compass and a sense of community. Moore later recalled that they were _0__. However, both of Moore's parents struggled with alcoholism, and she and her siblings were sometimes placed in the care of relatives. Her father was emotionally distant and unhappy, while her mother's drinking created an unstable home environment. Amidst Mary's innocent childhood, she held a particularly haunting memory that she later revealed in her 1995 autobiography, After All. At the tender age of 6, she was subjected to sexual abuse by a neighbor. The scars ran deep. When she mustered the courage to confide in her mother about the ordeal, she was met with disbelief. Her mother's response was a stark _1_Moore later reflected that her mother's denial was, in many ways, a different form of abuse, inflicting emotional pain that cut even deeper. This childhood experience would haunt her throughout her life. The family later moved to Los Angeles when Mary was 8 years old, where she attended St. Ambrose School and Immaculate Heart High School. It was here that Mary Tyler Moore began her endeavors in singing and dancing. Moore entered show business as a dancer in commercials after graduating from high school in 1955. She played Happy Hot Point, a dancing elf, to promote Hot Point appliances. These segments aired during the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. However, when the 18-year-old Moore married her next-door neighbor, the 28-year-old salesman Richard Carlton Meeker, and became pregnant 6 weeks later, she had to leave the commercials. The marriage to Meeker was hasty, perhaps born from Moore's desire to escape her troubled home. On July 3, 1956, she gave birth to her only child, Richard Carlton Meeker Jr., whom they called Richie. Suddenly thrust into motherhood at such a young age, Moore struggled to balance her career ambitions with raising a child. Moore also played a mysterious telephone receptionist in the Richard Diamond private detective series, where only her legs were visible. Her voice was sensual, and she embodied the role completely. Aside from that, she made guest appearances in several popular shows, including Johnny Staccato, Bachelor Father, The Tab Hunter Show, and Lockup. However, her name had yet to truly make its mark. That opportunity arrived in 1961 when she was cast in The Dick Van Dyke Show as Dick Van Dyke's wife, Laura Petrie. Her role as Laura was groundbreaking in many ways. Unlike the stereotypical portrayal of women on television, Laura was not just a housewife, but a modern, intelligent, funny, and dynamic character. Moore's performance breathed life into Laura, making her relatable to audiences and earning her critical acclaim. She famously introduced the then scandalous side of women wearing pants on television, helping to modernize the image of the American housewife. When she won her first Emmy Award for her portrayal of Laura Petrie, she said, quote, "Little did she know that this was only the beginning of her stellar journey." She would go on to win a total of 7 Emmy Awards throughout her career. But just as thrilled and excited as Moore was on the set of the show, she was equally emotionally distant at home. While her husband fulfilled his role, the marriage was not nurturing on her part. The couple divorced in 1961, just as her career was taking off, finalizing the separation in 1962. It was a huge blow to their son Richie, who was fond of his father and equally distant from his mother. Later that same year, Moore married Grant Tinker, a CBS executive who would later become chairman of NBC. The wedding took place on June 1, 1962, at the iconic Dunes Hotel in Las Vegas, with bright lights and the sound of slot machines as the backdrop for their budding love story. Tinker was sophisticated, ambitious, and connected in the television industry, making him an ideal match for Moore's career aspirations. Moore prioritizing her career over her son and husband was something she would come to regret later. As she later wrote in her autobiography, there is no question about it that her newfound fame kept her from giving her only child the attention he needed. For now, the absence of her first husband was filled by The Dick Van Dyke Show and her new marriage to Tinker. After her role on the show concluded in 1966, Mary Tyler Moore continued to explore various opportunities in the entertainment industry. She starred in movie musicals including Thoroughly Modern Millie, alongside Julie Andrews in 1967, and Change of Habit with Elvis Presley in 1969, where she found her co-star to be sly and seductive. She also appeared in the television thriller Run a Crooked Mile. However, her career did not truly take off again until 1970. In 1969, Moore and Grant Tinker formed the television production company MTM Enterprises, which would become one of the most successful independent production studios in television history. After performing in the one-hour musical special Dick Van Dyke and the Other Woman, Moore and Tinker successfully pitched a sitcom centered on Moore to CBS. The Mary Tyler Moore Show was a half-hour sitcom set in a Minneapolis newsroom, with Ed Asner portraying her gruff but lovable boss, Lou Grant. The original concept featured Moore as a recently divorced woman, but CBS executives insisted the character not be divorced, fearing audiences would think Laura Petrie had left Rob. Instead, Mary Richards was portrayed as a woman who had recently ended a long-term relationship. The show bridged elements of the women's movement with mainstream culture, presenting a likable and independent woman whose focus was on her professional career rather than traditional notions of marriage and family. As First Lady Michelle Obama would later say about the character, _quote_4__. Over its 7-season run from 1970 to 1977, the show accumulated an impressive 29 Emmy Awards, with Moore herself winning 3 awards for Best Lead Actress in a sitcom. The show was so popular that it spawned 3 successful spin-offs: Rhoda starring Valerie Harper, Phyllis starring Cloris Leachman, and Lou Grant starring Ed Asner, which transformed from a half-hour sitcom into an hour-long drama. However, behind the scenes, Moore's personal life was unraveling. Her marriage to Grant Tinker, despite their professional success, was troubled. In 1973, the couple broke up but patched things up shortly after. However, the underlying issues remained unresolved. Moore later recalled that she turned to alcohol during this period, a pattern she had inherited from both of her alcoholic parents. Amidst the accolades and accomplishments that defined her professional journey, there existed a stark contrast in Mary Tyler Moore's personal life. She was neglectful of her son, who was now in his 20s and struggling with his own demons. Immersed in the thrill and excitement of performance, she had little inkling of the tragedy that awaited her. In 1979, Moore and Tinker announced a permanent separation, divorcing 2 years later in 1981. Moore would later write that the marriage ended in _quote_5_. The divorce was devastating for Moore, coming at a time when she was also facing other personal losses. In 1978, Moore's younger sister Elizabeth died of a drug overdose at the age of 21. This loss shook Moore deeply, and she struggled to process her grief. Just 2 years later, an even more devastating tragedy would strike. In 1980, a year that should have been another stepping stone in her remarkable trajectory, Moore faced an unimaginable loss: the passing of her only child, Richard Meeker Jr. On October 14, 1980, Richie died at the age of 24. After investigation, it was found that Meeker had died from an accidental gunshot wound to the head while handling a small .410 shotgun. He collected guns as a hobby, and while handling one, he accidentally shot himself. Moore's first reaction was denial. She was unable to accept the death of her only son. When the emotions slowly began to settle, she found herself unable to cry. Instead, she experienced strange spasms that would last a minute and leave unbearable, unreleased pain in their wake. The guilt was overwhelming. Guilt over the time she hadn't spent with him, the attention she hadn't given him, the relationship they hadn't built. Later, Mary wrote a heartfelt note for her son in her autobiography. "When I see myself on film, a scene captured from Dick Van Dyke, perhaps you were 7 or 9 or 6, as the camera recorded my actions, you too are recorded somewhere just off stage. What were you doing then, at just those moments? I want that time to be replayed, how frantically I would step through the film, breaking the rules of this rerun, to catch you up in my arms. I'd take you to today, and every moment would be ours again, without a thought of tomorrow." This devastating loss came just months after the release of Ordinary People in 1980, for which Moore received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress for her powerful portrayal of an emotionally distant mother dealing with the death of one son and the attempted suicide of another. The parallels to her own life were haunting. Moore found herself enveloped by uncontrollable emotions. Just 2 years earlier, she had lost her sister, and now her son had died. Combined with the fact that her marriage to Grant Tinker was already on its last legs, Moore turned to alcohol for numbness. She had already been struggling with drinking, but now it intensified. Alcohol, however, only worsened her condition. She had been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 1969 at the age of 33 and had to self-administer insulin injections several times a day. The combination of diabetes and alcohol abuse was particularly dangerous and potentially deadly. In the early 1980s, following her divorce from Tinker, Moore briefly dated several high-profile men. She was romantically linked to comedian Steve Martin in 1982 and had a relationship with legendary Hollywood Lothario Warren Beatty around 1980 to 1981. Interestingly, at the time Moore was dating Beatty, he was simultaneously seeing actress Diane Keaton. Both women happened to live in the same building, the prestigious San Remo in New York City, albeit in separate towers. Keaton reportedly once glimpsed Beatty over at Moore's place through her window, an awkward discovery that highlighted Beatty's reputation as a womanizer. Moore also dated Michael Lindsay Hogg, the acclaimed British director known for directing the Beatles' Let It Be documentary and various Rolling Stones promotional films. Lindsay Hogg had directed Moore on Broadway in the play Whose Life Is It Anyway?, for which she won a Tony Award in 1980. However, their relationship ended when Moore wanted exclusivity, and Lindsay Hogg, known for his romances that had also included Gloria Vanderbilt, did not. These relationships, while providing temporary companionship, could not fill the void left by her son's death and the dissolution of her marriage. Moore was spiraling, caught in a cycle of grief, guilt, and self-destructive behavior. Moore eventually found love again, this time in an unexpected place. In 1982, she met Dr. S. Robert Levine, a cardiologist who had made a house call to treat her mother after they had returned from a trip to the Vatican where they had held a private audience with the Pope. When Dr. Levine was about to leave after examining her mother, he said what any doctor would say: "Mary, if you have concerns or any further questions, just give me a call." Moore turned to him and replied, "Is acute loneliness a good enough reason to call?" At first, Moore was appalled by the idea of marrying someone who was 18 years younger than her, only a year older than her deceased son would have been. However, Dr. Robert Levine's charm, altruism, and intellect drew her in. Remarkably, Levine had barely seen any episodes of The Mary Tyler Moore Show, as he had been busy with college and medical school during its run. Quote 10, he later recalled, "This meant he didn't view her as a star, but as a person, which allowed their relationship to develop naturally without the burden of her celebrity. In that first moment, I recognized it was different, and certainly our first date, it was so easy," Levine said, "because I didn't really know Mary as a star, so there wasn't a fan star thing going on." Moore later said that Levine was her first true love. The couple tied the knot on November 23, 1983, in New York City. Valerie Harper, Moore's co-star and close friend from The Mary Tyler Moore Show, served as her bridesmaid, Harper explained. By the early 1980s, Moore's career had waned somewhat, but she remained popular. 1 year after her marriage to Levine in 1984, she entered rehab at the Betty Ford Center and got clean. Interestingly, years earlier, then First Lady Betty Ford had made an inebriated appearance on The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and later, Ford's phone call encouraging Moore to seek treatment helped save her life. She continued to find success in her acting career, appearing in several critically acclaimed television movies, including First You Cry in 1978, where she portrayed journalist and breast cancer survivor Betty Rollin, Heart Sounds, Lincoln, and Stolen Babies in 1993, for which she earned another Emmy Award. She also had a brief return to series television with Mary in 1985–86, though it was short-lived, and Annie Maguire in 1988. In 1995, she appeared on the CBS drama New York News as the tough newspaper owner Louise _15_Felcott. While the 1980s proved to be a redeeming decade in many ways, the 1990s introduced a new period of sorrow. Her brother John, diagnosed with kidney cancer, endured immense agony toward the end of his life in 1991. Moore even attempted to help him end his suffering through assisted suicide by administering high doses of morphine, but he had grown immune to medication. The attempt failed, and witnessing her brother's decline became one of the most distressing episodes of her life. With the deaths of both her siblings and her son, Moore was the last surviving member of her immediate childhood family besides her aging parents. At the same time, Moore's retinal diabetes tightened its relentless grip. Her eyesight steadily deteriorated, forcing her to confront painful limitations. The woman whose expressive gaze had captivated audiences now navigated a world that had begun to blur. Diabetic retinopathy was robbing her of her vision, and despite her advocacy work and efforts to manage the disease, the damage was progressive and irreversible. Her husband later recalled that her vision deteriorated so severely that when she was presented with a Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award in 2012, she had to be escorted to the podium off-camera. Levine said the condition stole her autonomy and independence. She couldn't read. Her joy was robbed. The woman who had brought so much light to television screens couldn't fully see the world around her. Despite these challenges, Moore remained dedicated to diabetes awareness and research, becoming the international chairperson for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. She was also a passionate advocate for animal rights and was a lifelong vegetarian, despite the famous opening credits of The Mary Tyler Moore Show showing her tossing a package of meat into her shopping cart. Throughout all her struggles, Dr. Levine remained by her side. Their marriage lasted 33 years until her death, making it the most successful and longest of her 3 marriages. Moore credited Levine with always being able to lift her mood, saying, quote 16, "In January 2017, the world bid farewell to Mary Tyler Moore." The beloved actress passed away on January 25, 2017, at the age of 80 from complications of pneumonia, with Dr. Levine by her side. She left behind a legacy that extended far beyond her on-screen roles, including her advocacy for diabetes awareness, animal rights, and her transformative influence on the portrayal of women on television. Following her passing, Dr. Levine established the Mary Tyler Moore Vision Initiative in 2018, an organization dedicated to fighting diabetes-related vision loss, a condition that had robbed his wife of so much in her final years. In his work to continue her legacy, Levine unearthed home videos in their basement that showed Moore at her happiest, including footage of her toasting him at her 1983 bridal shower and the couple laughing together on their farm in upstate New York. As she once said, quote 17, "These words, spoken by a woman who knew profound pain and loss, encapsulate the resilience and courage that defined Mary Tyler Moore's life, even when the cameras stopped rolling and the applause faded away." If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click enjoy, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and see you on the next one.